Testing, testing. Alright, cool. So, hey guys, I'm back with another video. Today we'll be doing what if Naruto was in High School DxD. I know it's been away for long, and my Madara video kind of flopped. But I really don't care. I expected that to happen late. Literally, truly making that video, my voice was so dull, it didn't even make sense. Like, I was wondering, like, what was I saying halfway through the whole entire video. So I understand why it was literally dog water. But let's get back into this video, and we're gonna talk about what if Naruto's in High School DxD. And as you can see, this is a fucking 18 only what if. So I hope you know. If you're too young, get your bitch ass out of here. Like, honestly. But other than that, I have nothing really to say except I need to get some hand sanitizer so I can hand sanitize my hand. So I'll be right back. So yeah. That's it. All that's done. So let's just get into the video. So we start off this video with Naruto standing in a desolate land, like a desolate land where there's no mountains, no city, no water in sight. We see Naruto in a skin tight shirt, or what looks like a shirt, and short pants with he also has skin tight leggings under the pants, and 9 ethereal yellow tails swinging behind him with 2 yellow fox ears, and his whiskers being the most predominant feature. His eyes, not with its blue color, nor with its red color, gleaming in the desolate area. They swing, and he has blood coming down from his face and from his mouth. He looks like he's been fighting for a very long time, and from a few knocks away from him, we see a dead body. He had black hair and was wearing a brown a gray jacket of sorts, and he's just on the floor, laid out, packed. This is all obviously Naruto and Sasuke, with Sasuke being the dead one, and Naruto being the one standing with the 9 ethereal tails swinging behind him. So then we switch to another perspective of a woman with flowing white hair swaying in the wind and a white kimono. We also see a man with a horn being his most predominant feature, looking at both Naruto and Sasuke like they were mere insects. But Naruto not so much, because not a few seconds ago he kind of got pieced up by him, but we're gonna get into that later. So we see Naruto with blood coming down from his face, just panting, knowing that this might be his last moments on Earth. But then again, what's there left to call it Earth anymore? In the grand scope of things, the whole world is basically gone. Throughout Naruto and Sasuke's fight, the world just went into bombardment. Like, they were fighting so much, so hard, that just the shock pressure from their hits kinda erased the Earth. Like, it started to cause earthquakes, tsunamis, fire, continuous combustion all throughout the world, and in a matter of months, the whole entire human race was wiped out. There was no person or human in sight. So Naruto was on his last limbs. Sasuke died a few hours ago, and Naruto wasn't really registering that he died. Like, he had well, to be honest, he doesn't have anything to live for, but he's just fighting for fighting's sake. That he doesn't want them to win, for all those deaths just to be in vain. But he remembered one thing that could help him in this situation, because he knew no matter how hard he fought, no matter what he did, they were legitimately stronger than him. But the only reason he survived this long was for the mere fact that he was so smart. Well, not smart, but tricky and hard to catch, and that they half the things he did they didn't expect, so they keep getting caught off guard. And also Naruto's indomitable will not to die, and he's just trying to hold it all in, right? So Naruto is just there fighting and fighting for his life, but he hasn't registered yet that he has nothing to fight for. Like, what's the point of fighting if there's nothing to fight for at the end of the day? So Naruto hasn't registered that yet. So obviously these two people I'm talking about is Ishiki and Kaguya. They have teamed up to fight Naruto and ultimately beat him. So Naruto says it's here or never, and he remembers the one trait of his clan, and he needs to make a distraction. So, like a real ninja should, he asks the Seven Tails for its power and says Uzumaki technique, hidden steam. And from his mouth, it got a large amount of steam comes out of his mouth, enough to blind and kind of started to burn Kaguya and Ishiki. And Naruto bolts to Sasuke's body, actually trying to go for his other mark. Naruto now the feeling has fully set in that Sasuke is dead. His friends, everyone he loves, is dead. And it kind of settles in at that moment, like, what is there to fight for? But he's already gone too far. It makes no sense stopping now. Because, again, what's the point? If he dies today, he's taking them along with him. Like, he's not dying alone. So he charges up and gathers, and he says, "Sorry, Sasuke," and he put his other mark, like the Sun and Moon mark, on Sasuke's, and their bodies start to compact on each other, fold into each other, and Naruto's hair and features started changing, but he doesn't realize it yet. So that happens. And Naruto stands up, now Sharingan in one eye, and Sasuke's Sharingan in the other. Sasuke's thing in the other. So yeah. Naruto glares at both Kaguya and Ishiki. Just looking at them, not saying a word, just looking. He closes his eyes, and instantaneously, Naruto switches with Kaguya, and he punches Jigen in the face. Jigen is appalled, but he doesn't flinch. But Naruto didn't expect him to. He doesn't need them to. He grabs Ishiki's hand and throws him over to Kaguya. And Kaguya kind of catches Ishiki. Naruto both stretching both of his hands and then placing them both on Kaguya and Ishiki. And Kaguya and Ishiki didn't understand. This could only be used one person at a time, but they didn't know what his plan was or what he did earlier prior to that. And they felt something wrong with their bodies, like their bodies starting to kind of collapse on itself. They looked at Naruto and forgot they couldn't move. When they looked down, they had Naruto's tails curled around their bodies. So even if they wanted to move now, they really couldn't. And Naruto wasn't relenting. Their bodies started to compact on each other, and slowly merged with Naruto, but not Naruto himself though. We go deeper into the seal, and Kurama saying this is gonna kill the kid, and the rest of the Toby saying not if we have anything to do with it. And they all of them rush towards Kurama, because at this point they're like, Naruto has to repopulate the world now, like, or Naruto needs to live. Naruto needs to inherit their will, the will of everyone on Earth, to live the best life he can. So they all rush towards the Kyuubi, and they says, "This is our final farewell, Kurama. We are your brothers and sisters, and you are our big brother. Kurama, we'll always love you no matter what. Even in our death, we'll support you." And the tail beasts slowly start fading away, and Kurama sees the impending chakra of Kaguya and Ishiki, and his body his fur turns red, and markings appear across his body. Think of Sukuna's markings from JJK or Jujutsu Kaisen. Now that's how Kurama kind of looks. Just telling you. Know that. So that happens, and Kurama realized what they did. They basically merged with him, just like how Naruto was merging with Ishiki and Kaguya. And Naruto knew this was gonna kill him, but he didn't register that Kurama was there anymore, so he kind of forgot this would kill both of them. But Kurama wasn't gonna let that happen. He opened his mouth and said, "Naruto, we're not gonna see each other in a while, but you better not die, cause I swear to God." But Ishiki and Kaguya, they didn't take this lightly, bro. They didn't like what happened just now. They actually, for matter of fact, they were furious. So, but they knew their impending death was coming. Like, they knew that all the shit they talked, Naruto had the strongest will, and they figured out the strongest will is who's gonna take over the body. But Naruto had way more will than them, and they knew they were gonna die. So as a last ditch effort, Kaguya opened a portal along with Jigen, and they tried to suck Naruto into a dimension where nothing lived. There was complete emptiness, so he could rot out his days in complete exilement, where he couldn't speak, talk, hear, or even move. That was their plan, and all they were gonna die now, but they were gonna relish in the fact that he died. So they did. They opened that gate, and bada bam, bada boop. Naruto got dragged in. Naruto fell on the ground after Ishiki and Kaguya was finished in his body, waiting on his impending death. The portal opened, and he got sucked into it. He says, "So I guess this is it. It's his death." I want to say that I thought it would be a little more colorful, but what can you do? I knew I wasn't going to have him anyways. I'm a shinobi, damn it. I've killed people. I'm not proud of it, but I killed Obito. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, I kinda am proud of it. That guy took everything from me. If it wasn't him, to be honest, I would still have my parents, or my dad. My mom is a whole other story. That guy, I hate him. I hate him with a passion. Not that I really register everything that's happened in my life. He's the catalyst for most of it. But it doesn't matter now. He's dead. So is along with all my friends. Perfect. I'm alone once again. So we flash forward to another place. We flash forward to a gigantic mansion. Gigantic mansion, or actually a manor, because it's an old style. It's not a modern mansion. It's an old generation mansion thing. It's a manor, and we see this man with black hair and deep red eyes just sitting in the Layton area, just looking at chess pieces in his office, until he felt something, a rift of sorts, a portal, you could say, like not too far from his destination, actually merely 2 miles from it. He got curious and went down to check on it. This person was in fact the king of demons himself, Lucifer, or what people are what the angels like to call him, the disgrace of God, or what lesser angels call him, because high-ranking angels, they don't really call him anything. They just be chilling half the time. But yeah. Oh damn. Oh God, Jesus Christ. Anyways, so Lucifer went out there and he went outside, and a rift opened up. And when he looked closer, he saw a boy, no more than 3 years old, 4 at the most, in the middle of a crater, on the ground, on the brink of death. And for some reason, he felt compelled to run over there and hold the kid. The kid felt cold, but he smiled when looking at the kid. Maybe I can. Maybe I can be a father. And he brought him back into the manor and closed the door, going up to a room, preparing a room for the small child, and kind of ordering some baby essentials, like stuff, because he knew this was a normal baby. This baby came out of a portal, so his parents are most likely not alive, and yeah, he's most likely an orphan. Now, let's get back to Naruto's POV. So, as you kind of guessed, Naruto is this child. Naruto waked up feeling like a little weaker, but not like all that weaker. But he felt in a comfortable bed. A comfortable bed, which he realized had bars surrounding it. Well, a bar is like around it. But he followed, went back to sleep until he listened, what? Nigga, what? And he looked around, and he basically saw this was a cradle, but he's pondering how a cradle could fit a grown man. Well, he's not a man, he's technically 16, but meh. So Naruto looks around, but then he looks at his body and realizes he no longer looks like a 16-year-old. He looks like a 3 to 4 years old tops, and he's just like, what the fuck is going on? And this is where Lucifer walks into the room and sees Naruto, and Naruto looks at him and he like tilts his head and he like says, like, well, in a kid voice that she did recognize, who are you? And Lucifer says, my name is Lucifer, Morningstar. And you, well, I don't know who you are, but I decided to raise you as my kid of sorts. And Naruto looked at him and said, so I'm gonna ignore that part. Where am I? And Lucifer says, well, when I found you, you came out of a portal, so I'm guessing you're either not from this dimension or you're from the 0 dimension, which I highly doubt. But what I'm calling the 0 dimension is basically where Ophis is, for those Highschool DxD fans. If you know who Ophis is, which is also going to be in the story, because you kind of going to know why if you haven't seen the fucking thumbnail. But Ophis, if you are like a big time my Highschool DxD fan, you know who Ophis is. But yeah, we'll get into her a little bit, and Kuroga, you'll know. So Lucifer just looked at Naruto and says, "Yeah, I don't believe you're from here. So I'll fill you in. This is this is a world where demons and angels exist, and I'm guessing you are no angel or you're no demon." Naruto corrects him, saying that people call me a demon, but that was for what's inside of me, which is a spiritual amalgamation of life energy. And Lucifer says, "Duly noted." And Lucifer keeps on explaining about the demon or the supernatural, and Naruto kind of gets it. He's like, "So you're my father now." Lucifer says, "Yes, I can never really have kids of my own, merely because I didn't want to find a woman and no longer can, since my race thinks I'm dead, or I'm supposed to be dead. So I hope I can entrust my will to you, my only kid, Naruto Lucifer." Yeah, Naruto did end up telling his name, and Naruto says, "I kinda like it. My old name, well, it doesn't really matter here, but my old name used to be Naruto Uzumaki." And he asks, "How old are you?" "By all formal meanings, I am actually 16 years old," Naruto says, and Lucifer says, "Duly noted." Naruto says, "You say duly noted a lot." And he says, "Well, it's kind of a quirk of mine." And says, "Well, mine is saying Databayo, but I've stopped saying it on the path of like a few years." And Lucifer says, "Duly noted." So Naruto says, "So can I get out of this cradle?" And Lucifer says, "No, you're still technically a kid. You know that, right?" And he says, "Yeah, but I need to go register you as my child and a lot of other meaningless things that humans do." And Naruto says, "Duly noted. You're starting to get catchy." And Lucifer says, "Well, it's treated being my son." And Naruto laughs. But Lucifer says one thing. "I want to know how your past parents were." And this is where we're gonna get into like the 18 only stuff. But hear me out. Hear me out. Remember how I told you when Naruto was talking about his parents, he says only his mom died. Yeah, I'm going there. Yeah, I'm going there. So by all preferable means, there will be no fucking in this, no fucking by the main cast in this one. Probably in part 2, but not now. So I'm gonna have to stretch it a little bit. So you know what's gotta go down, right? You know what's gotta go down, really. That is just common knowledge now. So Naruto says, "I'll tell the truth," and Lucifer says, "I like that." And he goes off to go register Naruto as his child, buy Naruto some other essentials like books on how this world history works, because he figured out that Naruto's history and this history, they similar in how of regions and how the Edo period was, but then it doesn't really co-align of the new recent like medieval and the other eras of the world. So he narrowed down that Naruto's worlds were stuck in the Boko or some era, like a very past era, mixed along with kind of modern era, like into industrial era. I think that's what it's called. Like it was mixed around in there, but it wasn't a Pacific era with Pacific technology, but it was around there. But it doesn't have the same history. So he was picking up some books, so Naruto could get everything down. to make sure that he's good, right? He's goody. So Lucifer goes to do that, and Naruto is just sitting there looking at his new life. Like, he says, like, this isn't him. Normally, he'll be opposed of being someone's son that he barely knows for 2 seconds, but this man just gives off this type of vibe, like, he's been alone for most of his life and just wants someone. So that's why Naruto is so it's an unconscious thing that he's realizing, but it's an unconscious thought that he had. So Naruto just went and decided, well, that's what he had. You gotta do what he gotta do, and he's doing it. So why hate? So Lucifer comes back, and he brings the books and he says tomorrow there'll be a lot of decorations and other things being brought to the house, for my new son. And Naruto says okay, and now this is where Lucifer sits down in a chair right beside Naruto's bed and asks him, so about your parents. Naruto says this is gonna be a long story and it might be a little disturbing for you, but just take it in hindsight and just take it in the sign of grief. So I'm gonna stop the music for a bit. If you don't like how the fuck am I supposed to say this? So if you don't like the concept of having sex with your mother or someone's mother, please kindly get off, because this was no, actually I am sure someone in the comments will give you a timestamp if you do want to skip it, or if you just wanted to get straight to the alien part. Like, alright, I'm just telling you on standby, this is about to happen. Like, I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm pulling out all the stops. I've been holding back on y'all. Like, you can't say I haven't warned you, bro. Like, you can't say. Anyways, you can't say I didn't warn you. So Naruto starts talking about how his father died at a young age, talks about the village, but he leaves his mother last. He says, and this is going to be a flashback, a few years, like Naruto is a few years old. I'm not going to give you a specific time, because the Naruto I have envisioned in my head is, you know, so I can't particularly say that on this platform, so I'm not gonna give him an age, but you probably know what timestamp I have in my head. All I'm saying, it's kind of young. That's all I'm saying. I'm done. Okay. So, a few years prior to after Minato's death, or a few years after Minato's death, Kushina is devastated. She is just down tremendous. Like, her husband died and she had to raise her kid, and not to help that, her kid is a spitting image of her husband. And Naruto has been trying to comfort, because one time he caught his mother throwing up because she wasn't eating, but she obviously didn't want to show Naruto that she wasn't eating, and she started to get a little pale, and Naruto just had to grow up and have this mental state of an adult at an early age. So this is why he's having this certain reaction to Lucifer, where he's not really questioning anything he does, but in the first sight that Lucifer is doing some dumb shit, he'll leave, but he knows that Lucifer is not going to do some dumb shit, because the only reason he's acting like this is because he has no one. So his mother has not been eating, and Naruto decided to put his foot down, and he force fed his mother. And his hair, whenever his mother tried to like tell him that she didn't want to eat, his hair started to like float just how his mother's would, and he says, "You're eating, and you're not. I'm not taking no for an answer. Open your mouth." And he always had to force her to eat, but on her own, she started to eat and get better. So, but this also had a Mandela effect. So Naruto grew up a little more, and it's around. Oh, I can't say that. Hold on, hold on, guys. All right, cool. So he started to realize something. Like his mother was kind of, how do you say this, touching him more. Like she wasn't like going all down there, but like she was a little touchy more than often. Like sometimes while he's walking, she'll like slap his ass, and like he was like, but he's like, okay, she's just like playing and teasing, whatever. And he always had in mind that she's just playing. So, and she used to touch his shoulders, like kiss his ear, kiss his neck, but he always saw it as her playing until one Pacific day. He came home, he took off his shoes, and he was heading for his room until he saw his mother's door open, like wide open for no reason. And Naruto got a little cautious, and he placed down his bag in his room, and he walked to his mother's room to find his mother naked and in a very sexual pose with heart eyes looking at Naruto. Naruto was going to leave until one of Kushina's chains spotted from the ground and wrapped his waist, his legs, and kind of dragged him towards Kushina. Kushina says, "I had enough of this. I have wanted to do this for so long, but that mother instinct kept me from doing what I wanted, what I earned to do. Naruto, I want you." And Naruto, but he instantly regulated that, yeah, his mother is not getting any action. Like he narrowed this down, and he was like, it makes sense why she's doing this, because even he knows he is the spitting image of his father. He knows that for a fact, and he always had in his mind that she did have these thoughts here and there, because like again, spitting image of his father, hormones, and sexual drive. That's all I'm saying. So Kushina starts taking off Naruto's shirt. And Naruto realizes this is the best thing for his mother, so he's not gonna stop her. So she takes off of Naruto's shirt and his pants, and she sees the bulge in Naruto's boxers, and she slowly slides them off, right? He slowly slides them off and takes out Naruto's dick, right? And just starts gawking on it, licking under the skin of the top part of Naruto's dick, and jerking it off, and swirling her tongue around the tip of Naruto's dick, and then fully thrusting the dick down into her throat, going back and forth until she finally relented and moved up to Naruto and started kissing Naruto on his lips, and started moved up and like slipped her panties on a side, and damn, and slid Naruto's dick inside of her, right? And she's just like, she's moving her hips slowly on Naruto's dick, and drool started to come out of Naruto's dick. Although Naruto has a very calm head, he's not completely delicent. Like he's good. He's feeling it because know that again. As I stated, like you know, because Naruto is not. I'm not gonna say it, but he's not particularly old. So, damn, what did I get myself into? So he's going along with it, and Julius starting to come out of his mouth. I when Kushina taking her lips off of Naruto, Naruto kind of has his tongue out, and Julius coming from his mouth, and he's just looking with his mother with this lust in his eyes. But he doesn't really love her like that, but he's just looking with lust because, again, sexual drive does a lot. But I digress. So she's going back and forth, and she says, "Oops, I'm being a little selfish," and she gets off of Naruto's dick, and she goes back down. She turns around, where her pussy is like right in front of Naruto's face, and her mouth is facing Naruto's dick, and she starts sucking him off, and Naruto gets the hint, get the idea of what she wants him to do, right? So he starts licking her pussy, like sticking his tongue and moving it around to the very bottom of her pussy to the very top, and just like, and then thrusting his thrusting his tongue down there. You know. And he kind of takes out one of his hands and puts his thumb in her asshole, and this goes on for at least an hour until they finally stop. And this goes after days upon days, all the way up to Naruto being to the eventual fight with him, Kaguya, the Great Shinobi War. Actually, they did it like right after that, like right before the war. Naruto and Kushina did it as like a last goodbye, and yeah, that's the end of that. Whoa. I just put myself in a hole. Anyways, so that happens, and Naruto finished tells the story to Lucifer, and Lucifer says it's kind of sad and erotic at a point. And Naruto says, I did it for my mother, and even to this day I don't regret it. Although I didn't like the way she took it on, I won't regret it. And even if she asked to do it now, I'll still do it because I knew exactly why she did it. And he says, you had a valid reason. Why would I say anything about it? So even Lucifer saw the reason that she was doing it. It was like he Naruto completely emphasized that he was a spitting image of his father, and yeah, he could understand where hormones would have gone haywire with her not getting any business, and a lot of others. So, but I'm gonna give you a hint. I'm gonna give you a hint here. In some characters, only girls. Some characters has been reincarnated. That's all I'm saying. I'm not gonna tell you who. Okay, you kind of already know who, but there's one more person that has been reincarnated, but I haven't shown them yet because I am that guy, and you will just have to wait for the second part. Like, it's not gonna be that long from now. I also think I have to do another what if, but I can't get my head around it right now. I can't figure out what it is. Like, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember what it is. But I must go on. Like, I have a few more things to say before I go. But anyways, so Lucifer gets up and he leaves and says, "Well, I have to kind of I I was originally thinking to enroll you to school, but I guess you're a 16-year-old, so school will be a little redundant. So I guess I'll just homeschool you or issue you to be homeschooled when you reach the age, what humans see as your age." Naruto says, "That's okay." And he leaves and they go to sleep. Now, time skip. We see about a 6-year-old looking Naruto having a sword in his hand, just practicing with his father, just doing his thing, man. Like, living his life, and his life has been pretty easy, but his father's training, which are yeah, he's just relegated to calling Lucifer his father, and Lucifer is relegated to call Naruto his son. Like it's been a good while, and Naruto is just clashing with his father. His father not putting that much into the sword. But he oh no sorry. So his father is putting effort into like blocking Naruto, but not actually hitting him because again, although he knows Naruto is like 16-year-old and he most likely can get up, he still has a 6-year-old body, so he can and he realizes Naruto's not fighting at his best because he was a 6-year-old. He has adjusted to his body at that time, but he didn't adjust to his body as yet. So, but also I'm gonna explain something right here, right now. Lucifer is a connoisseur. Okay, so Lucifer was known of hunting down the white and red dragon emperors for a while. Like people have figured out that he was doing it. Like the people that was close to him realized he was doing it because he was just fascinated how the white and red dragon emperor could also boost their powers and could boost and divide other people's powers. And he was just so infatuated by it. Like, what if it was in his hands? But he also realized he was a fully fledged demon and there was no hope on him getting it. So he did try to do something. So on his many conquests, he gathered all the shards of the White Dragon Emperor gear and Red Dragon Emperor gear and started was experimenting. So he has killed 245 for White Dragon Emperors, and 346 Red Dragon Emperors. And from those, he decapitated their hands. That when they died, they had the the sacred the dragon to, but at the time the dragon had already died and reincarnated, but the shards were still inside of the person's hand. All Lucifer had to do was pump his blood magic into their hand, and bada bing bada boom, they were basically alive. They basically was the small inkling of the Red Dragon Emperor's power. So he kept on doing this over with both the White and Red Dragon Emperor over and over again until he finally decided he got enough shards to make sacred gear that was double the power of the original ones, which was original ones. So it took him years to do it, but he amassed so much shards that it was basically 2 times stronger than the original ones. So what he did was he realized, so he did some experimenting and he fused all of them together into 2 separate rings that's supposed to be worn on the 2 separate fingers. And these rings, one was pure white color with a white with blue markings, blue markings or blue insignias on the ring, and the other one was red and had green insignias on the ring, right? So he did this, and when they were finally finished, he tried to put them on, but he realized he is still a demon. Like he can't use them if he's a demon. And we go back to Naruto and Lucifer training, and he finally remembers because he just gave up at that point and on having his favorite boosted gears. He just gave up on it and just kind of forgot about them until like during the fight he was like, if Naruto boost his power, he'd be so overpowered. Until he finally remembers he basically has something like that, and he's wondering because he originally he knows that Naruto is not a fully, he's technically a divine being because how Naruto explained it to him that his reincarnated dad, which was the Sage Six Paths, was basically a god in their universe. Like everyone worshipped him. He even stayed along after death, being the spiritual form, and Lucifer relegated as just being a godlike person. So he realized Naruto's body could take it either ways. So what he did was he did so he told Naruto, "Do you want more power or a helper of sorts?" Naruto says, "I was never one keen on power because I seen what it done to people. Will this power corrupt me in any way?" Naruto says, and Lucifer says, "No. It's the way you use it if it will corrupt you. But if you don't, if you use it for just your pure interest, it won't corrupt you in doing anything." And Naruto sighed and says, "Fine, I want the power then." And Lucifer says, "Follow me." Naruto goes into Lucifer's study, which Naruto spent most of his baby years there because Lucifer just had him in his chair, and they were just walking back and forth talking, and Naruto was on Lucifer's body, and Naruto actually felt like Lucifer was his dad, so he would never like disgrace his real dad or his real mom. He would never disgrace them because like, yeah, they they birthed him, but he right here right now was being raised by Lucifer, and he actually kind of got to have a normal life, not having a depressed mom or a depressed or a dead dad, but he had a functioning father. He didn't have any mother, but like he had a functioning father, and that's all he needed. That's all he wanted in his life. So he didn't feel that bad about it. So Naruto goes into study, and Lucifer takes out a box in front of one of his locked drawers, and he opens it, and it had two rings, the rings that I described earlier, on it, and he gives them to Naruto and says, "Put them on the opposite finger, on your fingers." And Naruto puts one on his left finger and the other one on his right, and he felt a power surge and bellows inside of him, and he felt kind of weird, and he asks his father, "What is this?" and and Lucifer says, "Don't mind that yet. Say sacred gear." And Naruto says, "Okay," and he says sacred gear, and a red metallic gauntlet that clung a little tightly to his body. So it's not as bulky as the original one, and it doesn't have that huge gem in the middle. It has markings on all over it, glowing markings, and the palm of his hand is black, but it's not bulky. I don't know how to say it, but it's like dragon scales, right? It's like dragon scales. No. Think of, damn, how am I supposed to think of Kakashi's gauntlets arm guards when he had as a kid, but I imagine them a little bit more knightly, like a little more medieval, and it's surrounding his whole arm and going up just below his elbow. So that's what it looked like, and and white and blue wings of the divider energy, divider of the divided the Jesus fucking the divine divider circuit gear, the wings, the original wings of the circuit gear, basically that. And Naruto looks at the back of it and he sees the wings. He says, "These are pretty cool." And Lucifer says, "Say boost," and he says boost, and his arm glows. So unlike Dragon, the other dragon is like not there. Like they're not there because, yeah, it's their power, but Lucifer in fact made it like it's basically all their power but no soul. That's how I'm gonna explain. All the power but no soul, no conscience, nothing. So that's how Naruto's circuit gear is now. I was gonna make like God Killer is gonna. So this is like a prerequisite to God Killer. What if Issei was a God Killer? I'm gonna eventually do that, but this is like a precursor to that. So Naruto gets these two secret gears, and he hugs his father and says, "Thank you, Dad." And Lucifer pats his head, saying, "No problem, son." And they go on. Now, flash forward again. Naruto's about 10 years now, and 10 years old, but something has gone horribly wrong, and Naruto has kind of been awaiting this moment because he eventually knew it was gonna happen. So now Lucifer has sadly become ill because of how much battles he fought, how much energy he spent, and no matter what, no matter how strong you are, life catches up to you at some point. You can live, and trust me, Lucifer's lived millennia. Like this nigga has lived a long, long, long time. So he was preparing for it, and he also prepared Naruto for it. So we switched to Naruto, and Lucifer has dead bed. Lucifer is coughing. He now has like strangely gray hair because it's not been that long. Like it's not been that long. Well, but now Lucifer starts saying his final words, and he's saying like, "Naruto, my boy, don't cry. Don't don't sully yourself like that. You've fought hard, you trained hard, you became strong, and you're the best son that I could ever ask for. There's no time where I regret going to that place and finding you. There's no time I regret that. Naruto, I love you with all of my heart, and I hope you know that. I'm gonna die now. I'm gonna go to hell. No matter how this pans out, I'm gonna go to hell. But I want you to know, I want you to know that I'll always love you, no matter how it goes. Even if you decide to start a conquest to destroy the world and everyone in it, I'll still be there for you. No matter where you go, no how hard you try to forget me, I'll always love you. So don't cry, because I'll always be with you, no matter what. And Naruto, he isn't crying because his father told him, "Don't cry," and he wants it so bad. Like in his head, he is bawling. Like he's just out of it. Although he prepared himself for this day, like you can prepare yourself all you want. No matter how much you prepare yourself for someone dying, it hits you like a brick when it actually happens. So, for instance, like this is gonna get a little personal. My aunt, she died a few years ago, right? But I, she had cancer before this, so I was preparing for her death. So I know it's a sad thing to think about, but like sometimes you have to prepare yourself for that, right? And yeah, I did that. But when she didn't even die from cancer. She survived it, and this gave me this inkling of hope that yeah, she's gonna be all right. But as I had that hopeful thought, like she's gonna live to see me do all these things, bam, she dies because of some other random ass sickness, and it hit me like a brick, and I can't remember all about everything about that day, but I can remember not even hearing the words of my grandmother. Like she had told me she died, and when it happened, I remember running outside. I could remember running outside, and that was it. That was it. I can remember my mother conversation with me after that. That's all I could remember from that day. So yeah, like no matter how much you prepare yourself, of yeah, she's gonna die, so I'm gonna prepare myself for her death, so I don't sully myself in front of her. Yeah, she died, and I ended up bawling on my eyes even at the funeral, because the funeral was like I think a month after I heard she died, and then the funeral was right after that, because I didn't see the body. Cause it's more like I didn't want to see the body after her she died. Like I couldn't bring myself to look at it, and then that happened, and my life completely changed after that. Like I just saw the world in a whole different light. I was like, what's the point anymore? Like, what's the point of living anymore? Because that's a legitimate. No matter how cliche it sounds, that's a legitimate question that I to this day, after the years that passed, I can't answer. But the only thing I can tell a person that's going through a similar event is just try to ignore everything, because you're gonna have these questions pop in your head like, why did this happen? Why had it be her? But why could it have been me? Yeah, those questions will blast through your head on 24/7, right? But what you gotta do is just ignore everything around you and just have time for yourself. Because I wish I had someone to tell this to me before, because I had to deal with all of those and deal with myself, because I did, because I also knew that my parents were also going through a similar thing as me, so I don't want to burden them with my problems when they have their problems to deal with already. So I ended up dealing with it myself, being the comforter for my family, and I think that left some marks on my body, left some marks that I don't think will ever heal, because I used to be a very joyful person as a kid. Like, I used to be running around doing that. I had a very creative imagination, but you see, after that happened, I became so quiet that it even surprises me sometimes. Right? I stopped talking to people. I stopped talking to my grandmother. I stopped talking for everyone around me. If they asked me to do something, or they asked me a question, I'll answer. But like, if they asked me to do something and I didn't have to respond, I wouldn't. But prior to that, I would respond no matter what. But let's get back to it. So Lucifer died. Naruto is sad, and 6 years pass, and we see Naruto. We see a boy walking in with yellow hair that reaches goes down to his shoulder, but the top of his hair pulled back and some of it tied up. Basically, the picture of Mikey in in the in hair, and we see him with the white the white button up shirt with black stripes going down, and a sharp. So I am going to finish off right here right now. Like, I'll just finish off when I finish. So bye guys. Gotta go.